Welcome to Dunway Mechanical Engineering. We're working in FEA, so this is a tutorial on creating geometry in ANSYS DesignModeler and then pulling that into Workbench and using it in a static structural environment. So without further ado, I will change over to a window, and so we're going to launch Workbench. There we go. It should be starting up. It'll take a couple minutes here. I can fast forward this later. We'll see. So we should see, oh, it latched on a different window. We should see the project schematic here, like the analysis systems and component systems down here. So if I scroll down and find geometry there, drop that in. I want to do this in DesignModeler. It's a little more similar to SolidWorks. I'll show another video of building this in SolidWorks and then importing that into ANSYS. So I'm going to say new DesignModeler geometry, and that should be starting DesignModeler. You can see it down here. And that also launched in a different window. There we go. So here's our DesignModeler. Looks a lot like SolidWorks, but maybe say 10 years ago or something. So we have our triad, so we can look at an ISO view, we can look at the XY plane. We have the tree over here. So on the XY plane I want to draw something, so I click the sketch button. One other thing to note is I want to make sure I'm in the correct units for my system. So I'm going to go into millimeters, and I'm way zoomed in, so I'm going to zoom in a little smaller. There we go. So if I make that really big and then I put dimensions on things, it's going to be make the model look huge. So if I want to actually make a sketch here, I'm going to go into the sketching, and I have to select my sketch, select the sketching plane here. There's a couple ways I can do this. We're doing the triangle plate from section 2.2 in the FEA book. So I'm going to draw this as lines. And I can see I get a little C hovering there. I haven't clicked yet. Same thing here. And if I hover on the origin, I should get a little P. So I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to start at the same P, come down, I see a vertical constraint, that's great, and then come across to that point. And in DesignModeler, this like teal color or whatever is a non-fully constrained line or dimension. So I want to add some dimensions here. I have general. I'll need some angles and things as well. So this is going to be an equilateral triangle. I'm just going to put those in right now. So and sometimes you get the on the side you don't necessarily want. So I want 60 degrees, so I want 300 left, and I'm going to do another 300 between here and here. Oh, there we go. I got the inside on that one, so I want that to be 60. And I think this last one might yell at me and say it's going to be over constrained. There it goes. So I'm going to get rid of that, hit escape or undo. There we go. So now we'll put in some dimensions. I want 200 from the vertical axis to that point. I'm only at 46 right now, so I'll do 200 there. And I should have undone that. Let me bring that back. I'll fill these in after I word. Sometimes if you move it across the axis, it doesn't like that so much. And then I want 100 on this side. So it needs to be 300 total long. So I'm going to do that 100 on this side, and then 200 on that side. And there's my triangle. And now it's turned this, my lines are this darker blue color, not that teal color we had before. Alright, so we got that part started out, and so we're kind of to, I guess we're at 2.27 here. So I also want to draw some arcs on this thing. So I'm going to do an arc by circle, arc by center. I'm going to start at each point. I'm going to start there, go over, start here. Doesn't really matter which one I do first. There we go, and I hope that didn't put a weird constraint on that. It might have. And there we go. Alright, so then I'm going to set some of these dimensions. So looking at the figure, we are 20, each one of these little angled lines, the flat parts of this triangular plate, are supposed to be 40 millimeters wide. So I'm going to set this here at 20. I'm just typing that down in the dimension box, and then I'll do 40 from there to there. Oh. Yes, so I need to get rid of, so it did think I wanted this to be constrained on this line, on the axis, so I need to get rid of this guy. Oh, I don't want a dimension. Oh, that's exciting. Sorry about that. There, we're back. So I want to go away from that, undo, and so I want to delete this. Oh, I want to delete this line. Let's get out of the dimensions. So I want to go to modify. So I'm just going to select this line and hit delete, gets rid of it. So now I'm going to draw a arc by center again. I'm going to intentionally not be on that axis. I was in a bad spot earlier. And so you can see now that this line is that teal line, so is this one. So I need to add those dimensions. So I want 40 for this end. So I'm at 43, I want it to be 40, there we go. And now that turned that blue. And between here and there, I want that to be 40, and that should be fully defined. And now I can go through. I don't really care about fully defined completely, as long as I have the correct dimensions. So now I'm going to go back and trim off these ends. So I'm chopping off the points of that triangle. And I have a little extra tail hanging out there to that center line. There we go. And so this line here is not technically fully defined. I might see if I can just put a dimension on that, and that might lock me in. And that one, L12, is also 40. I'll just type that in as 40 just to be sure. Now I'm fully defined again. Alright, and now we can do a modify. So we're going to do some offsets. So I'm going to grab this line, and this line. Why did that let me do the offsets? Escape out of that. So what if I select them first? We'll try it that direction. It must be a singly connected set of lines and arcs. Not sure why I'm getting that error at this point. Should be able to grab those and just do the offsets. Let's see. Oh, maybe I need to select all of them. So I can also do this box select. Let's see, where did I lose my box select to? So I can do a box select. I'm going to grab all of them and do the offset. So I selected all of those. I'm going to get out of all of that. Box select all of these guys, and I'm going to try the offset. There we go. So it wanted it to be a continuous line, so I'm going to do something like that. And then looking at my dimensions, I need that to be 30 millimeters offset. So I'm going to set between here and here. I didn't want that as an R. So let's see. R is that. I don't want that dimension, so I'm going to delete that dimension. So I want don't want a radius. So I'm just going to do length, distance from here to there. So that should be 30. I'm close to 30. I'm at 31. And those all grew the same amount, and these two ends that still stay connected, it did not. So I may need to extend those. And this guy. And now I can go back and trim this line off. There we go. So there's my bit. I need to do a radii, fillet on those. So I'm going to do 10 and just fillet that corner, this corner, and that corner. Now it looks like those radii are not fully defined, but again, that's fine. So now we can be back to my model, and I can extrude this. So I might want to extrude that. I have a couple options in ANSYS. I can do in DesignModeler. I can do add material, which makes it a solid material, or I can add frozen, which is a solid material that's not going to merge with any other regular material or frozen material. In this case, it doesn't really matter which I do. So I might do an extrusion. I might say this, I believe, is a 10 millimeter thick part, and there's a few other options in this. So I'll generate that, and there's my part. I've got some thickness to it. Got these points from my dimensioning and things still out there, but that's fine. And if I want to do this as a 2D analysis, I can either delete this or suppress it, and then I can do a concept called surfaces from sketches, and just select that sketch. And I will do this as add frozen just for kicks and generate. And now I have just a thin surface. There's no thickness to this material at all. But I can still analyze it as if it had some thickness to it. I could put in here what that thickness is. I'm going to leave it 0 here and fill that in ANSYS. So I will switch over to that. So I have that. This is my 2D geometry, so it might be nice to name that 2D geometry. And actually, I'm right here. It might be a good place to save my file. So I'm going to save as, I'll just put this on my desktop for now. Triangle plate tutorial. And that's saving this whole project. So that saves this geometry file. If I had other results or things like that, analyses, that would pull all those things together. So I'm going to stop the recording for that right now, and we'll pick up in another video in just a moment.